What's up, guys? We are here to go over the 9 pillars of fitness and how it helps you to build athleticism. So, Ben, you want to lead us off and talk about the 9 pillars?
Yeah, we developed the 9 pillars because they're essential for creating athleticism, and athleticism is essential for having longevity. Athleticism and longevity are the same thing. So, these 9 pillars, when we're working with our Olympic athletes, it is the science behind how we write the program. These 9 pillars, when we're working with an 80-year-old that wants to continue to snow ski and play tennis, we work off these same 9 pillars. The execution looks different, right? The Olympic athletes, we're working with slope style, half pipe athletes, so they need to be able to produce and absorb massive amounts of force. The 80-year-old grandma that still wants to play pickleball and ski looks a little bit different, so the amount of force development, the amount of force absorption that we need is different. The body that we're working with is different, but the science behind it, the 9 pillars of fitness, we have to create an athletic body because an athletic body has longevity. So cruising through, what are these 9 pillars? Number one, joint mobility. We think that mobility is probably the most important thing because if your joint fails you, you're no longer doing your activity. A really easy example is during ski season, you've done a bunch of prep work to get ready for your ski trip or to get ready for your season, depending if you live there or you're vacationing. In second run of the season, you blow your ACL. Your fitness, your strength, your speed, your power, none of that matters because you can't use it anymore because you're getting surgery and your knee's blown out. So having healthy joints that are prepared for what you're going to do is really important. Number 2 and 3 are probably the most important attributes to have for athleticism. If you don't have joints, you can't have athleticism. That's why joints are most important. And now that we're into kind of attributes of an athlete, speed and power. If you're a professional athlete, speed and power are different. If you're not a professional athlete, speed and power can be combined into the same thing. So talk about speed and power a little bit. What is it? Why do we care?
Yeah, so speed and power are, like you said, very similar, but there are slight nuances between them. So speed is basically looking at, quite literally, how fast can you move something. So that could be running down a track. It could be what kind of velocity you can reach on a bike, what you can do on skis. Power, there is more of a force component to it. So if you're getting into the details, then power can be accomplished either through a lot of force or a lot of speed, whereas speed is pretty unidirectional.
Yep. And the reason our Olympic athlete cares about it all the way through to grandma, why do we care?
Because ultimately, speed and power, if you're going to kind of combine those concepts, are really what allow you to be athletic. So if you cannot either produce or absorb force quickly, then you're going to be really limited on the type of activities you can do.
100%. And you don't lose speed and power just because you got old. You lose it because you stop trying to develop it. And if you do not have speed and power, if you let that go, the last time you've worked on it is when you played basketball in your 20s at a pickup game, and now you're 50, it will seem hard or unachievable. It is not. You just have to start with where you are, not where your brain thinks you are, and then work in a periodized manner to build that up.
Yeah.
Number 4, we've got strength. That is your ability to move a load. Ideally, heavy strength training is quite important, and that's relative to what you've been doing. Heavy doesn't mean you need a back squat 800 pounds. Anybody in the mountain environment, you don't need that. That's more strength than is necessary and is going to help you with your sport. So we figure out where you're at, and then we want to get you to the point where if you're supposed to do 4 reps, Alex, I will give you $100,000 to do 6 reps, and he might be able to get a 5th rep, but there's no chance with good technique, with good form, he could get that 6th rep. That's the level of intensity that we're working for, and I like that reps in reserve target because it allows you to adjust for how much fatigue you have for that day, as opposed to based off a 1 rep max. You don't need to test that for what we're doing here. if you've had a really big day on the mountain and you come in the next day, you're pretty wrecked. We still want to go to 1 rep in reserve, but it might be 10-15% less than what it was a week ago when you came in super fresh.
Yeah, strength's relative, and there can be variations day to day based on what you're doing.
100%. And then hypertrophy is number 5. Talk about it.
So hypertrophy is literally building lean mass, and that becomes super important as we continue to progress through our athletic careers. If we want to maintain longevity, then we have to have lean mass.
Correct. And we need blocks within our calendar year where we're focused for 4 to 8 weeks, could be 6 weeks, on putting on lean mass. That's important for cyclists. It's important for climbers. All of you folks that want to stay as small as possible, during your off season, you still have to add some lean mass so you have some tissue to lose when you're in the depths of season. And then the last 4 are all kind of related. Muscular endurance. If you're doing anything uphill on the mountains, you're working muscular endurance. Most people don't need to work muscular endurance in the gym if you're a mountain athlete.
Yeah.
Occasionally, a little bit of it is really useful, but it almost never needs to be a core component of your strength and conditioning program. Then we have anaerobic capacity, number 7. Explain it.
So anaerobic capacity is basically what threshold can you reach above a pace that you could sustain for a long duration.
Yeah, and it's your ability to punch, get real punchy when you're doing something. So if you're pedaling uphill, you hit an uphill rock garden, you punch it real quick, that can turn anaerobic quickly.
Yeah. It's basically giving yourself a higher ceiling that you can work in.
Yep, 100%. And then we've got max heart rate, VO2 max. We want to make sure we're keeping that aerobic system healthy. Most people in mountain athletics that are adults hit that with their sport.
Yeah.
If you're only a downhill skier, then yeah, we need to work some in the gym or some off of the mountain. But if you're doing any touring uphill, if you're doing any cross-country skiing, trail running, backpacking, if you're a rock climber doing any sort of approach, you're going to hit a lot of that stuff, and it doesn't need to be a focus of your program. And then the last thing that we think is really important is long duration steady state endurance. If you're going to have a day in the mountains, it's good to be able to spend the day. And the only way to do that is to move for longer periods of time, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many hours. Some of the pushes I go on in the Alpine are 18 to 20 hours. So you need to have that worked into your year in some fashion in order to maintain the ability to do that.
Yeah, and at minimum, that long duration steady state ability is going to support your recovery after you're done too.
Absolutely. If you have no base conditioning, no base fitness, it's really hard to recover. So those are our 9 pillars of fitness. All of these are necessary components of an athlete. And if you want longevity, you have to train like an athlete, no matter if you're 35, 65, 85, 105. We have to figure out what can your body handle and then challenge it through each of these pillars throughout the season. You do not work on all 9 pillars at one time. You just can't. You can't do a good job of that. So that's why you want a plan throughout the year where we're focused on pretty much 3 at a time. Sometimes you'll throw a 4th one in just to maintain it, but the core focus will be power. We're trying to maintain strength, and we're focused on joint mobility. That's what we're doing right now because we're in season in Park City. And depending on where you are in your sports cycle, we make adjustments.
Yep.
So those are the 9 pillars. Learn them. Understand you have to be an athlete if you want longevity.